episode of Ranch and Riddick in the Morning with myself, Brent Ramblin' with Ranj, and of course, Mr. Benjamin, insert middle initial here, Riddick.
And by insert middle initial, my middle name is Ben, so...
I know, I realize that.
You really ranged that one.
I was too busy ranging off to think about it.
Yeah.
But here we go. I'm hosting this week, which means absolutely nothing. It just means that I introduce the show and that Ben comes up with a topic. So, Ben, what do you want to talk about?
In other words, you're making me do all the hard work.
Yeah, and next week I do all the hard work. And by hard work, I mean come up with a topic the moment before we start the show and then riff.
Yeah.
Boom.
That sounds about what you usually do, because we go pretty crazy.
That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
So your hosting duties are usually a little bit more reined in. So why don't you tell all the millions of people tuned in right now what we're going to talk about?
Well, I thought this week, there was this big announcement yesterday about a wonderful television show that's going to be starting sometime this year. It's called Gotham.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's another TV show adaptation of I call them books. I know they're comic books, but they're books in general. So I thought today would be a good day to just chat about what we feel about book adaptations of TV shows and movies, and obviously not just limited to comic books, but in anything and everything. First off, have you seen the trailer? For
yes.
How do you feel about this trailer?
I'm interested. I think we've spoken about this before, but like when I think of Batman, I think of my Batman. But this isn't really about Batman. This is kind of set more in the Batman universe, and by proxy of that, I'm pretty interested. I'll definitely give it a spin, watch.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks to me more like the comic book Gotham's Finest, or Gotham PD. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but really, really awesome run of comics that follows around Gotham PD instead of Batman.
Right, because they maybe less glamorous, but definitely also cleaning up the streets of Gotham. It's not just Batman, kicking ass and taking names.
Oh yeah, and it's all really exciting stuff to see the more. Not that Batman has a bunch of superpowers or anything, but see the more average Joe go out there and really work the streets of Gotham.
It's
not
true.
In that creepy way, though.
I was going to let you dig the hole because that was a little messed up, what you said right there.
But what are some of your favorites, Brant? What are some of your favorite TV or movie adaptations of books or video games or whatever, just adaptations in general?
Sure. I liked some of the Harry Potter movies. Some of the Harry Potter movie adaptations were good.
I knew Harry Potter was going to come into this.
Yeah, well, I think we should start there then. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's definitely for many humans in talking about my generation or our generation. Some of the first book to movie adaptations we've seen that were like blockbusters were the Harry Potter movies. Came out in 2001, so I would have been 10.
You're a little baby.
I was a child. I was like Harry Potter aged. I was like, this works, and then it stopped working because they only release movies every once in a while, and I aged like the actors did. I'm like, I see myself represented there. Yes, okay, getting older, okay, becoming less convincing that person is actually 16 and not like 20.
This is true.
I like some of the Harry Potter stuff, but I think that I think we should mention the big caveat of adaptations is that invariably, in like 95% of cases, they're going to have to cut certain stuff from the book out in order to fit it, depending on the length of the book, of course, into the movie. So there are definitely times during the Harry Potter franchise where like did not happen like that. Not even like the uber nerd, like actually like the wand was left on his nightstand and not the table in the kitchen. Like nothing quite like that.
There are some big plot points that are sometimes just completely
glossed over,
skipped over. Exactly. Yeah. Like in Sorcerer's Stone, they don't even mention that all of the professors went through and set up these obstacles to make sure that old Voldemort couldn't.
Who's Voldemort? That sounds like a brew that you would find in the Harry Potter universe.
But no, they don't even really mention that. They're fighting a plant, then they're playing a game of chess. They completely skip the potions one, which was one of my favorites in the book. But you know, they told the story that they needed to tell. Now you mentioned them having to cut stuff out.
Yes.
Why couldn't they just take the Peter Jackson approach to it and make a 5-hour-long movie?
I don't think the first Lord of the Rings movie actually came out around that time, I guess. And I mean bigger. And I was going to get to this later. A better example of this is that he took one book, The Hobbit, and is making a 9-hour trilogy, or like 8 hours. Even though that incorporates certain stuff from like the Silmarillion, which is a book of
history.
Yeah, exactly. Of the rings, right? Of Middle Earth, as it were. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to sit through like a 3-hour Harry Potter movie for each one of them. I mean, as it was, they split the last book into 2 movies.
Yeah. Which is becoming very popular with like Hunger Games and the way Twilight did it, and all that stuff. So here's my question: for books, do you think movies are really the best way to adapt them? Because some of my favorite books that I've read, Song of Ice and Fire books, otherwise known as Game of Thrones, is a very popular television show right now on HBO. And I feel like they do an incredibly good job at staying very true to the books. They have a much better opportunity to do that because they have hour-long chunks that they can do that can be served more as a chapter. And I mean, let's face it, books are split into chapters, TV shows are split into episodes. We've already got that split, so why not take that and run with it?
I don't know. I think it depends on the property. I mean, when you have a hot property like The Mummy, when you can make an animated television show for Saturday morning cartoons, I say good work. That actually exists.
Yes, I know. I do remember this TV show, actually.
Right. Yeah. I think that it's by property a decision that they can make. I agree. I haven't seen any of the Game of Thrones, but I know that's how it kind of works, and it's working out extraordinarily well, and eventually I'll get there. But I think that sometimes they want to build these book movie adaptations as an experience. 3 hours in an IMAX 3-dimensional vortex cube where you're spinning around and you feel like you're in the middle of feel the terror of the hobbits, etc.
But are people really still going to movies?
I mean, I hate going to the movies.
That seems like a very popular consensus. Movie tickets have gotten so expensive that it costs for if you and one other person just buy tickets to an IMAX movie, you could buy the Blu-ray when it comes out for probably twice, depending on what format you see your movie in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, definitely. And that's why I usually do that. And it's interesting that I hear that. I was listening to a podcast just last night.
You listen to podcasts?
In which the hosts were like, "Yeah, we don't go to the movies because there's potential for the movie to get ruined by people being disrespectful or bringing a baby or this or that." And the great irony is that those are the reasons why I don't really go to the movies. But then once those people stop going, then going to a movie is just going to be a really loud experience. If the only people that are left are just like really loud, rambunctious cell phone using people.
It's like even Lee and I, when we go to the movies, we think, okay, so we want to go see this movie. We'd love to go see it when it comes out, but do we want to go on a Friday night? What if we went on on a Tuesday afternoon? There'd probably be like nobody there.
Yeah.
And that's how we generally plan our movie trips is, well, how many people are going to be at this theater, and how badly do we want to see this movie?
Yeah, so, summertime when I was like 13 years old, always meant going to a matinee.
Yeah.
On like a Tuesday when everybody else is at work. 2 weeks after the movie came out, so nobody, like, it's just like the last day you can, or whatever, one of the last days you can see this movie. All right, sure. And then you're the only people in the movie theater, and it's like a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's the best kind of experience.
It's
for sure.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of more adaptations. I guess the big ones were the Harry Potters, Twilight you mentioned, Lord of the Rings. If we're talking about comics and comic books, then technically the stories of all the Marvel movies are technically book adaptations, although it's not necessarily one book as much as it is like an amalgamation of different stories from within those books, or using the precedents set within the books to create an original story.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you brought them up, because I think one thing that Marvel is doing like perfectly is every single movie is tied together. And not only is every single movie tied together, but the TV show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are tied into the movies, to the point where I was watching an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before I saw Captain America Winter Soldier, and had a huge plot point of Winter Soldier spoiled for me.
Damn them.
I know. I was so frustrated, but at the same time, I look back on it, I'm like, well, I'm glad that they are that dedicated to it, because this major point in the Captain America movie is not something that could just be glossed over in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, that's one of those things that made me really happy, and it makes me really hopeful that it makes me hopeful for DC, and to see how they do their movies. As well as their TV shows. I mean, we've got Gotham coming out, we've got Arrow going on currently, and they have this opportunity to create this expanded universe like Marvel has done, and really turn it into one big cohesive unit, to where you sit there and you're like, well, I really want to watch this week's episode, but I almost feel like I need to watch the movie that just came out so that I don't miss anything in the episode, or vice versa. It's one of those things where they have those really great nods to the TV show and the movies, but you don't necessarily. It's not incredibly obvious to the point where it's like, okay, well, I didn't see the movie, I'm not going to see the movie. This is just dumb to me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Convoluted as it was, yes, it makes sense. Well, I mean, what we're really glossing over, though, is the wonderful.
I also forgot. Flash is coming out. I'm sorry. Flash is coming out as a TV show.
I'll wait for HTML5. That's a computer joke. Boom.
Okay.
There you go.
No, but I mean, they're already combining two TV show universes into one, to have them really, stick out. It makes me hopeful that that when we have a Justice League movie, that we might see a cameo of a Green Arrow or a Flash. I mean, the Flash that they have in the TV show is incredibly young, so who's to say that the events that take place in the TV show Arrow don't take place before the events of Man of Steel?
I've never been happier to not be a comic book fan. Don't have to deal with all this stuff. I just collect my rare 2,500 pressed Randy Newman records and live in my bunker.
One day, Brant, I'm going to get you for like a birthday or something, like a few quintessential comics that are going to just
Riddick's Quintessential Comics. Is that what the name of your comic book shop would be if you won the lottery? Quintessential Comics?
That would be quite the name.
Quintessential Comics, San Francisco, California. Big old retail space, multiple floors, just the works.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's what I'm talking about. You're gonna have the same comic in different languages. You're gonna be on top of that shit.
I'm glad you know my business plan better than I do.
Well, yeah, no, I stole it. You were too busy watching comic book television shows. Just waltzed in, stole your plans, and left.
Hey, if you watched Arrow, you would know that you don't need to be a comic book fan to enjoy that TV show.
Oh no, you don't have to be a comic book fan to enjoy many of the things. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can enjoy. I mean, I as a not crazy comic fan, just somebody that respects the medium. When I see a comic book movie, I'm just like, all right, well played. I saw Watchmen opening night. Tell you what, it was a fine film.
Oh yeah. So accurate to the comics too, man. Let me tell you.
They had this debate on yet another podcast I was listening to last week when they were talking about all sorts of comic book related stuff. So much comic book talk because of what ended up happening with Comixology and the iOS app.
I love it. I don't know if I've told you, but I love it.
You just love going into a web store?
You know what? I don't care about that because I wasn't doing it that way to begin with.
You're crazy. If they did that to one of my apps, I would be freaking out. Although I don't really use in-app purchases that much. It's just not my purview. But if the Amazon, I don't even buy stuff. I realized I basically stopped buying stuff from Amazon.com. My monk-like existence continues. But if in order to buy stuff on Amazon.com, I had to go to the website, I would have to have a personal freak out, and then obviously put that into context with the problem.
Yeah, but that's different. That's physical product.
Well, that's why it's not subject to the 30% that Apple has to take of this and that. But there are a lot of people. I mean, what if it? I think it'll ultimately hurt Comixology. That's what I mean, I'm not even a crazy comic book fan, but I think it will.
See, I'm very doubtful that that the way they went with Comixology is going to hurt them. Because what's essentially going to happen is it'll just push forward the people who use the Kindle, which is a much more affordable piece of tablet tech than the iPad.
Yeah, but if iPad users spend more money, then it doesn't matter. It's like how Android's got a majority market share in the phone space, but they spend 5% of the app revenue comes from that platform.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, in a month, I'm sure we'll have the answers as to what.
Comixology out of business. Yeah. I feel like. Well, they can't even now. Even if they start hemorrhaging money, it doesn't matter because they're owned by Amazon.
Exactly, and like I said, I don't see them hemorrhaging money anytime soon. The big comic book fans are still going to buy their comics. It's not even that much more difficult. So
it's all about behavior. You got to take some psych classes, man. It's about behavioral psychology and changing the way people do things.
Yeah.
Man.
Exactly, Brant. Good job.
Man.
I'm so proud of you.
It's all about if something happened with my record buying that made it more difficult. Oh man, that would just be. I don't even want to get into that. But to do that, I have to go to a physical store, so there would have to be a pit of lava or something, and I'd be like, God damn it, yeah. I'm not limber enough for this.
But I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't see this harming the digital comics industry. It might short term, but in the long term, I think it's going to flourish a lot more because the comic book creators are going to start seeing their more of the money because they don't have to worry about the big iTunes man.
That's true. But what if people? What if there's what if the impulse? Because I think that what it cuts down on is the impulse purchases clearly, because you could just impulse purchase stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see if those things cancel each other out. If the lack of impulse purchasing ultimately, if 30% less people you buy a certain amount of stuff, then will the 30% cancel itself out? I've just heard this debate on a number of different podcasts because my tech people are also a bunch of comic people, and so I'm interested because I'm completely ignorant to it. But they're the people who are spending, have bought thousands of things off of Comixology. I've bought none. So it's interesting to see hear their perspective on where things are going. Again,
speaking of comic books, do you know what we've been doing on Ridiculous Rants?
What have you been doing on Riddick? I thought you were going to talk about Free Comic Book Day. I'm like, all right.
Well, we'll get into that too. No, we started reviewing comics.
Oh yeah. Oh, the site. Yes. I saw your tweet and your Facebook and your Tumbles, your Friendster.
Yeah. Oh man, Friendster.
Yeah.
How much I love to post on the Friendsters.
But it's the hot, hip new social media.
Yeah. Exactly.
It would be so great if that came back. Just as an ironic joke, just kids that are 15 years old now that don't get the joke are just this Friendster thing is fucking amazing.
Yeah. I was going to say MySpace, but MySpace is never coming back, so.
No. It's like disco.
Disco's going to come back.
No, it's not.
Just you wait and see.
Going on MySpace is the equivalent of being like, all right, man, let's book you. You just like go into like in roller rinks, and I don't need that.
So yeah, it was Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, it was.
Last Saturday. Did you go participate in Free Comic Book Day, Brand?
I did not, but I was very excited to see. There were people posting on Twitter that they were supporting their local stores, and I was like, excellent. It's the equivalent of when I went to not Free Record Store Day, but just Record Store Day on the 19th of April, and I was like, all right.
Not a day where they just give away free record stores?
No, I wouldn't even buy one. That would be like, that sounds like a Ponzi scheme. Now, if you get a record store, then I get some money. All you have to do is convince 2 other people to open record stores. We'll just have a flourishing industry again.
Yeah, this is true.
But no, so were you participating?
Unfortunately, I worked all day that day, so there was no participation on my part.
Right.
It is, but I got to keep the lights on, so.
Sell platelets, man.
Sell platelets. That sounds like the best, most efficient.
I'm not saying it's sustainable, but I'm just saying that it keeps the lights on.
Fine.
I know about selling blood. I know about blood sales.
Back onto our movie and TV show adaptations,
Sure.
Just to kind of maybe round things out a little bit, because
put a bow on it.
Yeah. What's your favorite one? Your favorite adaptation of a book or comic or?
Two Towers.
2 Towers? I never read the Lord of the Rings books.
I only read some, but 2 Towers is just dope as hell.
Gotcha. I tried, but I just couldn't get past Tom Bombadil in Fellowship of the Ring.
Right on.
So, all of a sudden, you've got 20 pages of Tom Bombadil singing a song, and before the song, they were in this little hole in the ground, and then at the end of the song, they're falling down an avalanche on the side of a mountain, and I don't understand.
Well, you should have read the song.
Yeah, apparently, but it didn't make any sense to me, so I skipped it. Yeah, like an intelligent person would do.
TLDR.
Yeah, too long didn't read. Exactly. As for me, I think my favorite adaptation would have to be, and you're going to be really surprised by this, Brand.
I'm waiting to be surprised.
Batman the Animated Series.
Uh-huh.
From the Batman comics.
Right.
So that's okay. One of the best little adaptations that really showed some great fan service to the people who read the comics.
Oh, yeah.
And it got a bunch of people who were not interested in comics at all, like a little Brant Ramblin' Ranj.
Oh God, I love that. I can't tell you how much I love Batman the Animated Series. It's too much.
Probably the best cartoon ever made.
Oh, without question. I will debate anyone who says anything different.
Yeah, best cartoon ever made. Batman the Animated Series.
It was the first animated series to win an Emmy for.
I don't believe it just won 1 Emmy.
No, but it was the first one for Heart of Ice.
Right, I think you're right.
That's the shit. I know why Batman the Animated Series. I've read that Wikipedia article.
You've read the Wikipedias.
It's a wonderful series. The only cartoon that I'll even hear about rivaling it, and that's solely in terms of influence, is like the original Looney Tunes cartoons, by virtue of the fact that without those clearly paved the way for how animation really worked.
Yeah.
But you can't. It's like a chicken. It's like without that, you can't have like an industry which facilitates whatever. And it's very rare for characters to have that sort of longevity.
Yeah, no kidding. And for people to stay interested in them for that long.
It's true. I like Duck Amuck is such a wonderfully funny and insane cartoon.
Don't know that one, but
really, Duck Amuck?
Yeah.
Oh, I should send you the YouTube video. It's truly it may be the best animated short in existence.
Yeah. And just so you know, it was Robin's Reckoning Part 1 that won a Primetime Emmy Award.
All right, good.
But
if you're watching this and haven't watched all of Batman the Animated Series, just watch all of Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, don't hesitate because it's best cartoon on television.
It's true. And even though the digital video disc box sets they fluctuate in price on Amazon, they're worth owning.
Yeah.
And you need to have that series. That series is so good.
Yep. So, what do you think, Brand?
I think we learned some great stuff.
I think we learned some people some great stuff too.
So, where can people find you on the great wide internet?
The great World Wide Web, some people might call it.
Yeah, not just the terrestrial landline telephone operated interweb.
Well, you can always call me at 555-5555. So
I want to troll you. I want to get you that number, just so that all those people that when the number flashes on the screen in like movies and stuff, it's
no. That will never happen. No, but you can find me on Twitter at Ben Riddick. You can listen to a podcast that I host called Ridiculous Rants every Sunday at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, and you can watch it live if you go to www.ridiculousrants.com/podcast live. Same website where you'll actually find Ranj and Riddick in the morning every Tuesday. So yeah, keep an eye on that. And then this Thursday is the premiere episode of the Poll List podcast. All comic books all the time.
Except it's not really all the time. It's just the time when you're recording.
Yeah, but we're talking about comic books. And for those worried, we're not going to talk about comics that released that week. We're going to talk about comics that released the previous week. So there will be no comic spoilers for a week on that show.
There you go, that's what I'm talking about. See, I am Brent Ramble with Ranj. You can find me on Twitter at BRanj, that is BRANJ. You can find my writing at readretro.com, brantranj.com, and eventually ridiculousrants.com. You can listen to my podcast, Minor League Geeks. It's available on iTunes. And you can follow that on Twitter at MLGeeks. Again, this has been Ranj and Riddick in the Morning. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.